first of all, Tanya, congratulations on making it to a second term for Mulgrave Council.
Thank you very much, Adam.
And thank you for joining us. We appreciate that. What was going through your mind when the nomination deadline passed and you'd found out that not only you had been acclaimed and you didn't have a campaign to worry about this time around, but that the entire council had been acclaimed?
Well, it was a relief. I was kind of conflicted on whether to actually go from house to house with the COVID-19 raging. And even though we have no cases here, I didn't want people to feel uncomfortable. So, and I think I'm out in the public so much that I think if I had to go around, I probably could have talked to a lot of constituents that way. But yes, it was a relief. And I was relieved that Bob reoffered. And I'm very excited about Krista Ludington and Crystal Durling. I can't wait to work with them. But it was a relief. It was a relief that now we can just go forward. I don't have to spend, weeks preparing and selling. So it was great.
Yeah, because there's something odd about a campaign sometimes. It feels almost like you have to sell yourself the way you would sell a product or sell a car or anything like that. So
Exactly.
You had to go through that during your first campaign back in 2016. Can you tell me a little bit about what was different between deciding to run then and deciding to run again now?
Oh my, how naive I was in 2016.
Oh, really?
Oh, I think I was not prepared at all. I had came into council right at the time where the amalgamation had kind of fell apart. And we were, I think, into year 7 of our water treatment plant that had been ongoing with problems. And so I really came into council with a lot of these big problems already at the table that I really quickly had to do my homework and get up to speed. And very thankful for especially our mayor now, Ralph Hadley, who took me under his wing and said, here's a synopsis of what went on for the last 7 years. And so I really had to learn a lot about water treatment and valves and pressures and a lot of things I didn't think I'd ever have to get my fingers into. And then again, with the amalgamation that had just kind of dissipated and the town was really divided over that. So I came into a divided town and there was a little conflict there going on. So I think once we got past all that and the community came together again and said, this is where we are. As Mulgravers, I feel like we're always behind the 8 ball. And I know a lot of people in town feel the same way. We're always the underdogs and we're always fighting. And it was just one more fight we had to win. So we just put it in front of us and we moved on. And so this year when it came up to reoffer, I had the conversation with my husband and said, because I think people forget that it's a family thing. I spent a lot of time away from home. And so I had to check to see if he was okay and if he supported me. And of course he supported me. And I worked really, really hard this last 4 years to accomplish a lot of big things going on in Mulgrave. And I want to keep going. I still have that fire and I still have that passion. And I think with Krista and Crystal coming in now, this new blood, these new opinions, these new, I'm so grateful that they're coming in and they can bring out the good in us. They can find the good, what really works for us. And we have such a tight-knit council now. And of course, it's going to change a little, but, change is not always bad. So I'm very excited for Krista. I work with Krista on a few other different projects, and her energy is just stellar. She's kind of like yourself, Adam. She's a great entertainer. She loves people. And I can't wait to see what she brings to the table.
I know she's worked hard on a number of different initiatives since she and her husband Jay and their children arrived in Mulgrave just a few years ago. She had considered running for council before and finally made the go-ahead, and all of a sudden she's with you on council now.
I know.
Yeah.
I know I spoke to her. We texted back and forth prior to her putting her nomination in, and as well, Crystal as well too. She contacted me, asked some questions, of course, and I was more than willing to. And I don't, sugarcoat. I told there's rough days, but there's good days, and I'm glad that there are a younger voice coming to the table. And, I'm middle aged, and some of our other councils are middle aged or older. So it's nice to get that fresh, young perspective and what's important to somebody with a young family or a young couple living in town. So I'm really excited. Really, I can't wait.
That's marvelous. I want to ask you a little bit about the outgoing mayor, if you don't mind. You mentioned that Ralph Hadley had taken you under his wing when you first came to council, really helped give you a heads up on a lot of the issues that you would be dealing with. He's not reoffering. There are, of course, two seasoned candidates that are running now to replace him in Ron Chisholm, your former council colleague, and Lorne MacDonald, a former mayor of Mulgrave. But can you talk a little bit about Ralph and about what he has done for the town and specifically for yourself as a new councillor during the last 4 years?
Well, what can I say about Ralph? Ralph, I feel very like a kindred spirit with Ralph. We both have that passion and that fire, and we're not afraid to spark that fire when the situation comes up. Ralph wouldn't give us an answer of yes or no if he was going to to run again. So we kind of figured that. Ralph put 30 years into the fire department, and he's got 20 plus years into council. And I had to think that we robbed, his daughter Cora and his son Matthew and his wife Burl a lot of time, where Burl had the children home and where Ralph was off volunteering for many, many years, and he probably missed a lot. And I think I'm not going to lie, I was just deflated when he told me he wasn't running again. I was very deflated, but then I had to say, you know what? This is what's best for Ralph and his family. And we had him long enough, and now it's time for us to give him back to his family, to enjoy his grandchildren and his retirement with his wife. I don't think this is the end of Ralph Hadley.
No.
He's going to still be involved. I really hope very much as either consulting or back in some degree. But I wish him. I grew up with Ralph, and I grew up with his younger brothers, and he has brothers married to family members of mine, and it's a small community. So I feel more Ralph's my brother, than he's the mayor. So. And I can speak to him just as a brother would. We didn't always agree at the table, and but I knew at the end of our session we could sit down and shake hands or hug and laugh about it, and say, not brother and sister don't always agree.
No, that's true.
And difference of opinion is a good thing. So I'm really personally going to miss Ralph beside me. I'm looking forward to the run between Ronnie Chisholm and Lorne MacDonald. They both are going to bring two different, I think, aspects to the table, and it's going to be interesting.
Yeah, they're both formidable candidates, and they both have their experience throughout the last 10 years, and Lorne's experience goes back even farther than that. So it's going to be interesting either way to see who comes out and what vision that they bring for the town of Mulgrave going forward. I wanted to ask you about your thoughts on Mulgrave as a town itself. Now, you brought up just a few minutes ago, you came into council at a time when Mulgrave had planned to seek amalgamation with the nearby municipality of the District of Guysborough. My recollection there is that that deal collapsed because the warden at the time, Vernon Pitts, and his council felt that they didn't have enough information to be able to go forward, and so Mulgrave moved on as a town. It's 4 years later now. How do you think Mulgrave is doing overall? What do you think we have to look forward to in the future? And is it a difficult slog ahead, do you feel? Or are you looking forward to what could happen as a result of new people with new ideas coming in, like yourself?
Well, I think one of the best decisions we ever made was to hire Darlene Sampson Berkey. Darlene she came with just a list of accolades that were just stellar. She had, a background in, of course, finance, but she also had a background in economic development, social enterprising. She just came with so much to the table, and she's got that fire in her too.
Yeah.
So she came in here and she fell in love with us, and we fell in love with her. I can't say enough good about Darlene. I just think she is one of the best people I've ever met in my life. I really, really, really enjoy working with her all the time. Again, we don't always agree, but at the end of the day, we're always looking for the best decision moving forward. We got to think of the future. We got to think we're not always going to be sitting at this table. So the decisions we make, whether it's the $7.3 million for our new wastewater and force main upgrade, we got to think about in 10 years' time.
Yeah.
We got to make sure that that's still sustainable. We're working on a lot of big projects right now, and we have such a great team. And then we got Tom Isaac for our public works superintendent, and he is just, I cannot say enough good. We just have the best team right now I've ever seen. And I don't know if I'm a little impartial because I'm on that team, but everybody's works really well together now. We have a student that we rehired, Caitlin Keeping. She finished her degree and she's going back to school to take her 2 years of teaching. So she's returning for us part-time, and her and Darlene are like two peas in a pod. And so it's really has helped alleviate some of the small things that Darlene doesn't have to spend time on now. She can just kind of, give it to Caitlin. And so we have such a great team. We have, of course, Kathy Hearn and Debbie King have been, I think they have 40 plus years. Yes. So they, the experience that they bring, it's just, and we rely on them a lot. Why do people do it this way? Why are you paying it that way? And we've changed a lot of things, and Debbie and Kathy have just gone with the flow. In 2016, when I first came in, before Darlene came here, we did a lot of things in town, as many probably small towns do. It becomes almost a practice. You do things just because it's always been done that way. And Darlene came in with a history and a background of risk management. So she was saying, just because people are doing it and it's acceptable doesn't mean that it's best practice. So let's make some best practice policies and procedures. And sometimes, that it hurt a little bit. But at the end of the day, again, we have to think of the future, and we have to think, if we're not here, we need to go forward. And the people that are sitting in our seats can look at what we've done and say, wow, they laid the groundwork. So we're building that foundation for someone to take over. And I think that's, I don't think I'll be in council forever. I don't know. I could be. But I just want to lay the foundation for that if I leave or if I'm not elected the next time, that foundation is there for someone to grow on.
Wise person once said that there are few things more noble than someone willing to lay the groundwork for a project whose fruition they may not even live to see.
That's right.
So it's good to hear that you have that kind of mindset, and that your fellow councillors have as well too, and employees. I'll point out as well, we've had Darlene Berthier-Sampson as a guest here on Telile 24/7, and so you don't have to convince me about the fire in her belly for her job as CAO. So yeah,
fantastic.
Yeah, definitely.
I can't say enough good about her.
Yeah. I want to ask you a little bit about a venture that you've been doing for a few months now, and this ties into the idea of development of Mulgrave's assets, because You're set up at the former school building. It was Mulgrave Memorial Education Center. It's now Mulgrave Memorial Center.
Yeah.
And you have the Scotia Cafe running. You're serving food and beverages there. And I want to ask you if you can tell me a little bit about that and how you think that speaks to the idea that that school building could serve far more than it actually does right now. It could wind up being a real center for the town.
Yes, so we were, of course, you probably know a little bit of the story that when the school closed, it was given to us. You know, the keys were handed over, and here we were with this huge, humongous building, 12 full classrooms, plus in the cafeteria and office buildings and an auditorium, and we're like, you know, and of course, the people in town were saying, just tear it down, and we're like, it costs, you know, we looked into it, and it cost $600,000 to tear it down. We don't have that money. So we did a lot of, we got in contact with St. FX, and we did feasibility studies, and we got in contact with co-op, and they come in and said, you know, we inquired about grocery stores and convenience stores, and we had a few private people come in that looked at, to try to do some housing, for seniors, and, you know, we really branched out and put our fingers everywhere to see what we can do. So we developed a committee, and it is called the Mulgrave and Area Revitalization Association.
Yes.
We call it MARA for short, because that's a big mouthful.
It's a mouthful, yes.
It is. So I'm on this committee, and I said we had this beautiful cafeteria. We had spent all, I want to say, winter painting, cleaning, scrubbing, replacing lights. Me and Bob, the deputy mayor, Bob Russell, you know, he's just a trooper. We spent a lot of weekends, a lot of evenings, and a lot of days up there painting and scrubbing. And so I brought this to the table for the MAR committee, and I said, why don't we see if we can do this cafe and, you know, see if it'll go. So they decided to give me a small budget. And I took that budget and bought food, and we bought a few supplies, and we just went. Me and a few volunteers, and we just ran with it. And we were just, you know, up and running, and then COVID hit in March.
Yeah.
And we had just made a huge order, and we had like $2,000 worth of inventory, and we couldn't sell anything. So here I was having to answer to, you know, the board and the committee. And so anyway, we waited until, of course, the cases went down. Some of the food was starting to expire.
I would imagine.
Or getting close to expiry. So now we were, you know, I had to learn about bookkeeping and costs and stuff like that. So we actually sold off a lot of the soon-to-be expired product to the committee members or people in our close circle. So anyway, make them a long story short, we came back on board in June and started takeout only, just through a window, and we respected all the, you know, the social distancing from the Premier and Dr. Strang. And it took us a couple months, but we finally got out of the red and have been very successful since then.
Good.
So it just goes to show that even in a pandemic, that the spirit here in Mulgrave is just, it's just a spark that is just unbelievable, that people come out and supported us, and we get the same people every week coming to buy. And so we're very happy. It was a very successful year. We're just getting ready to shut down because now, of course, kids are back in school, you know, and vacations are over. So we and our volunteers need a break. So they've been working pretty tight out since June. So, and a lot of them are seniors. So I said, you know, let's just close down for now, and we'll go back to the committee, see what they think, and see if they want us to do it again next year. But it was very successful. It just goes to show that even in a pandemic, hard work, you know.
Well, I wanted to pick up on that a little bit because you made a point about having customer loyalty through all this and, you know, getting your regulars, but also getting the support of the community. And I wonder if you could just speak to that a little bit as we start to wind down here, because I think your experience speaks volumes about what Mulgrave is, that the residents support their own, that they rally around their own, even during a pandemic, and you could even say especially during a pandemic, because that's often what brings out the best in people. So can you tell a little bit about what it was like for you and your volunteers being behind the counter and watching these faces coming in and saying, we're here to support you and we want our lunch from you?
Yes, so we have, I think it all stemmed from our seniors club. So we have a New Horizons group here, and we have about 25 regular seniors that come, and they come every week. And you know what? It is the highlight of my week, because they come in and they're so grateful for everything, and they're so happy, and they laugh. And there's nothing in this world that makes me more happy than hearing children or older people laugh, or anybody laugh. So they're always a fun group, and they love to play beanbag or wash or toss, and they're very competitive. And I try to beat them, and I can't. So they're very good as well. And they were the catalysts. So they were the ones that were sparking everybody else, and they were the catalyst behind coming every week and supporting us every week. And as everybody's seeing these seniors coming to support us, then we were getting more and more. And then we had almost 50 people, faithfully coming every Thursday.
Wow.
And, it was just amazing. And, if I had anybody to owe it to, it's the seniors, because they support us week after week. I love those guys.
It's wonderful to hear that, and good to hear we've touched on younger municipal councilors coming in and gone all the way up to the seniors that have been some of your most loyal customers. So that spirit of Mulgrave goes from one end of the spectrum to the other, touches every age, every demographic.
Absolutely.
Yeah, definitely. We've covered a lot of ground in a short time here, Tanya, and I appreciate you taking some time to talk to me. Did you want to add anything else about all of this just before we wrap up?
I don't think so, Adam. I think I've rambled on enough.
At Telile 24/7, we appreciate a good ramble, Tanya. No trouble at all. Well, listen.
Thank you for taking the time.
No trouble.
I really appreciate it. You're an incredible entertainer. I love following you, especially when you're in the Strait area. So just know that I'm one of your biggest fans, and I watch your show online all the time.
Well, we appreciate that very much, and I have to tell you, keep doing interviews like this with us, and we're going to be among your biggest fans as well. So
perfect.
Yeah, that works out terrific. Well, thank you again. Congratulations on being acclaimed to a second term for Mulgrave Town Council. We look forward to catching up with you again very, very soon.
Thanks a lot, Adam.
No trouble at all. Our guest has been Tanya Snow, who has just been acclaimed to her second term on Mulgrave Town Council. She's been speaking to us from her home via Zoom.